Welcome. My name's Rashad from the Behind the Bench Network, and I want to give a shout out to my boy Jermaine, JB, and my boy Kelvin from the Behind the Bench crew. Now, you can find me in Laker Force and Worldwide Laker Gang on Facebook, and I just thought I ain't made a video in a long time. But I'm just tired of seeing what I've been seeing with the Los Angeles Lakers. See, I'm a diehard Laker fan. And I was one of the very few that seen this train wreck that's happening once they signed LeBron James. Now, it's a lot that led up to the Lakers signing LeBron James, Magic Johnson, Jeannie Buss, and a whole lot of other people in the Lakers organization now. From the reports that I read, half the organization did not want LeBron, but Magic made the final call. The Buss brothers didn't want LeBron. I think I want to say the Ramesses didn't want LeBron, because they was in control of the Lakers until Magic became president. Magic came in, cleaned house, got whoever LeBron wanted. It's numerous reports that Magic reached out to LeBron on that first year of choosing who he wanted as to play with. Okay? That was the first no-no. You can't give someone like LeBron that much control. LeBron's the type of person that gets control and he abuses it. He's not a true leader. Leaders don't abuse the power that they get. Okay? Now, I keep my ear to the streets. I live in Los Angeles. I talk basketball with intelligent basketball people. I'm not a rah-rah guy. I love the Lakers, but I'm going to call out the BS when it takes place. And like I said, I was never for LeBron James coming because of his track history of what he did with Cleveland and what he did with Miami. And what he's doing with the Lakers will be worse than those two if they don't make these changes. Now, I put on my GM hat. I had to really think back, make sure contracts match, make sure it was a team going forward that could compete with the younger teams of the NBA. Because as you watch now, the Lakers is just too old. I told people this. I said the Lakers is too old. They can't play defense. They can't stand in front of nobody. And that's what's been happening. Teams attack the basket. Lakers get tired. And they haven't even played they're just now entering the hard part of their schedule. They had the most home games than any team, and they played the NBA. Adam Silver juiced up the schedule to help the Lakers out. If y'all don't know that this is a business, then, hey, you need to do more research. This NBA will be different in the next 3 years, especially when the owners get a hold of these players. Now, like I said earlier, I put on my GM hat. Anybody can play GM, but, when I put on a GM hat and I make trades, I make sure that both parties feel like they're winning. Not necessarily, it just favors the Lakers. As y'all been seeing, is reports that the media is trying to push LeBron James back to Cleveland. I'm all for it. Get him out of the Lakers, because if not, the Lakers would not be able to rebound. It would take, I'm 42 years old. I feel like by the time I'm 50, they would be irrelevant again. Not even. I'm just talking about making the playoffs because we when it came to LeBron, they gave away D'Angelo Russell, and they try to make it seem like he was a cancer in the locker room with the whole Nick Young, and we gave him away the clear cap space to get LeBron, and at that time they thought they was gonna get Paul George. So they did all this clearing the cap space, but we had to get rid of Timothy Mozgov. We had to get rid of D'Angelo Russell, number 2 pick, and they gave him away. Then it didn't make sense. They gave away Lou Williams. They gave away. They was just trading everybody off. Jordan Clarkson and Larry Nance Jr. That was all before LeBron came. Magic came on, and we all believed in Magic. But I will never be a fan of Magic, the president, GM. I only respect Magic as a Laker putting on the purple and gold. But what he did to this organization by handing Clutch and LeBron the keys to a well-oiled machine will never be forgiven. With that, with LeBron coming, we had a lot of his flunkies, a lot of his basketball fans that don't know basketball, very emotional. They're toxic. And I remember being a Laker fan. Laker fans was smart. Not this generation of Laker fans. I don't know if they're LeBron fans, the ones that believed in LeBron before he even was a Laker, the ones that sipped the Kool-Aid once he got here. And you'll hear the people say, well, they won a championship. Lakers don't play to win a championship. We ain't the Toronto Raptors. We play to be in the mix every year. But it is a time when you have to rebuild. And that's what we was doing. We was rebuilding with the young core. Every single person that got traded from the young core is now thriving in other places. The team might not be as successful, but that player is thriving. If it's Jordan Clarkson, Julius Randle, D'Angelo Russell, Kyle Kuzma, Caruso, Thomas Bryant, Josh Hart. I feel like I'm missing some names. But y'all know the list. Y'all know the players. Everybody's thriving. Everybody's playing at the top level. And we was in front of a lot of these teams. Denver, we had a younger core than Denver that had talent. We was in front of the Suns that had talent, in front of Utah. We was the team, if we still had all those players, that would have been buying in to play in the Western Conference Finals and championship, because we also had cap space that we was able to pick up a big name if it was a Paul George, if it was I forget about B.I. B.I. down there in New Orleans, Zubac over there with the Clippers, but the Clippers don't know how to use them. So that's a damn shame, because Tyronn Lue's he's a terrible coach. We're just scattered everywhere. But yeah. Our trajectory was going up. This is like think back, these players was 3 years younger than what they are now. 3-4 years younger than what they are now. And that young core team started off slow. This is before LeBron came. Started off slow, and then in the second half of the season had the third best record or the second best record after the All-Star break. They started believing in themselves. They started winning. They was a top 10 defense. We had the right coach. A lot of people want to downplay Luke Walton. You could downplay him all you want. Yeah, he went to Sacramento, but if you did you watch the Sacramento games and see that, that they was always injured. They never really, they drafted well. They drafted high in the draft, but they can't keep players on the court. Can't keep players on the court, you ain't gonna be successful. They're not gonna get that chemistry. But then you got, they drafted wrong. You got some players that want to be franchise players, all-star players, but they're not, I don't want to say no names, but they're not living up to the bill. But that's here and there. What I'm saying is we was on our way. We was on our way. We just needed one more year with that nucleus of the young core. We was on our way. Top 10 in defense. Do you know how hard it is to be a top 10 in defense with players that's 19, 20, and 21 years old? 22? Do you know how hard it is to be a top 10 in defense? It's very hard, people. Very hard. But we got rid of it to get a bubble title, to bring in LeBron James, for LeBron James to set up the bubble and Adam Silver to sign off on it, but give him a free ride to the finals. But that's another video for another day. But let me get straight to the point. Magic messed us up for about 6 to 10 years by handing the keys to Clutch Sports and LeBron. If I was a GM, this is what I'll do. First, I'll clean house. And I'll start with everyone associated with Clutch. Get them out, get that stench out. It ain't the Laker way, never been the Laker way. Get that stench, that smell, that losing, that manipulating, that cheating. Get that out of the Laker organization. The Lakers need assets, young talent, and a couple draft picks and cap space going forward. Okay? Keep that in mind. So, first thing I'll do, I'll have to trade LeBron James. LeBron James is the number one person that you need to trade. You trade him to Cleveland. The media is already trying to cape for this dude to get him back to Cleveland. Now, you're asking, okay, so we get their best, we get Mobley and we get their best players back. No, you don't. You got to make it. You got to have Cleveland got to want to take LeBron and know that they still got a chance to win it. Okay. Cleveland is third in the East right now as I make this video. And let's keep it 100. The Lakers aren't making the playoffs this season. I said that in the beginning of the season. The schedule only gets harder. LeBron's already sitting out because he wants to, either he's hurt, but I don't think he's hurt. He's pulling what he normally does. He wants to get a new coach, or he's quitting. He's a quitter. He's not a leader. He's a quitter. He's always been a quitter. That's just what it is. But LeBron still want to have a chance to win a ring, so you trade him to Cleveland. He'll go to Cleveland. Now, he don't have no trade calls. A lot of people will probably be like, well, just trade him to any team. Nah, because you want him to go back to Cleveland because that's where the story is at right now. See, a lot of people get brainwashed and influenced by the media, and they're listening to some of these people, the Nick Wrongs, the Kendrick Perkins, people that don't really know basketball. They speak it. People think they know what they're talking about. The Shannon Sharps, because they're on TV, that don't make them smart. Now, when you trade LeBron to Cleveland, this is who you trade him for. You get back Jared Allen, Colin Sexton, Ricky Rubio, And if you could get a first and a first round pick, if you could get two or a first and a second, you do that. You preferably want a 2024 or 25 first round pick. Okay? Now, the contracts match within 10%. Jared Allen is a young center. He plays defense, he rebounds the ball, and he's coming into his own. Future all-star. The Cavs are also looking to trade Colin Sexton because they found their shooting guard or point guard of the future. You know, he done led them into the third seed. But you get back Colin Sexton. Colin Sexton is a good add-on piece. I think he got 3 years onto his contract. I don't know if the Lakers stay with him or they let him go, but they do keep him for the next 2 years. Now, Sexton is young, he can score, and he has a future. Rubio has an expiring contract after this season. So Rubio has an expiring contract, after this season. So that helps with the free agency for the following season, okay? Now, I'm going to get to that later on in this video. The next move you make, you trade Anthony Davis. I try to tell people, especially in these Facebook groups, this dude is injury prone. He's not that dude. He's a beta. We call him Beta AD. He does whatever LeBron James do. He's a true beta. He's not a leader. But you trade him to the Knicks because the Knicks fans, they look for that big splash, baby. And you trade him for Julius Randle. You get Julius Randle to come back. Okay? He was never supposed to be let go in the first place. And the Knicks would take Anthony Davis in a New York minute. Because the Knicks fans and the media, they don't respect Julius Randle. And it's just in time that they're going to go ahead and trade him anyway. To see Randle back in the purple gold with his new reformed game, man, look at this team I'm about to put together. You got Jared Allen so far, Julius Randle. Okay? You got Colin Sexton. You also bring back Taj Gibson. Taj Gibson got two years left this year and next year on his contract, so that kind of opens up to what's going to help the Lakers opening up cap space for free agents. But you got to have a nucleus around for it to be intriguing for free agents to want to come to the Lakers. Okay? You traded Anthony Davis. Now, the Lakers, when they traded Anthony Davis from New Orleans, they raised the bar on trading any player in the NBA. Now you see ridiculous asking prices for star players that haven't proven anything. Look at Ben Simmons. Look at that asking price. Look what Clippers had to do to get Paul George. The Lakers was betting against themselves when they made that trade. They was doing dumb stuff. And which, if they waited, because LeBron James wanted AD so bad to start the season, they could have waited until All-Star break and then have to send New Orleans so much in return. They could have kept Ball or BI. Maybe if they sent both of them, maybe we all those draft picks that we gave away Josh Hart and all these, like, we didn't have to give away all that if they waited. If the King was really that dude, he would have kept the Lakers afloat and then made that trade in the middle of the season and still probably would have went to the finals. But nah, not LeBron. Not clutch. They talking, the only teams that AD's willing to go to is Boston No, Boston wanted to trade for AD, but they was like, if you sign for him, he's gonna leave and go to the Lakers at the end of the season. He's not gonna sign an extension. Then they threw the Knicks out there, like the Knicks had assets. Everybody know the Lakers was betting against. Lakers was playing poker with themselves, and they put all the chips in. Magic was willing to give up the whole damn team. The trade was bigger than what it initially was. They had Kuzma and Zubac. They had all these other players in the deal. Rajon Rondo. They had everybody up in there. On top of the players that they let go. This is what they was going to do. This is who was running our franchise. Magic Johnson, the liar. He's a liar. He lied to everybody. Then he dipped because he couldn't fire Luke Walton. He dipped because he couldn't fire Luke Walton. But he gave the keys to LeBron and Clutch. Rich Paul and them. Okay? So you trade AD to New York. You get Taj Gibson back, 2 first-round picks. Okay? New York will be willing to do that. You trade THT for Daniel House Jr. to the Houston Rockets for Daniel House Jr. and a second-round pick. That's the next deal you do. You got to clean house. You got to get Clutch out of there. Okay? Now, I think Kendrick Nunn is part of Clutch, but he signed a 2-year deal, so he's there for another year. He got a player option. He's going to buy in because he's been injured this whole year. We'll deal with Kendrick Nunn later on, okay? So, what you do then, after this season, you make a strong push in the free agency to sign Zach LaVine. He's a LA native, played at UCLA. They also should go after Zubac because what I'm thinking and how I'm looking at it, if you bring Zubac in and if you get Zubac 12 shots, 13 shots a game, he could give you 20 points easy. The Clippers just don't do it. You know, Magic said he only averaging 5 points. Gave him away for nothing. Every time I think about Magic, I get upset. But the thing is, Zubac got a team option, and I don't know if the Clippers is gonna re-sign Zubac. Okay, so let me hold on. But you know, you if he's open, then you get Zubac back, because then you go Zubac, starting center, Jared Allen, power forward. You move Julius Randle down because he plays on the perimeter anyway, and he could guard small forwards. You'll have a big lineup. You'll look something like the Cleveland Cavaliers where you have a big lineup, okay? And if you're able to get Zach LaVine, he's going to give you 25 points a night. Randall, depending on if he could bounce back, he could give you 24 or 25 points a night. Zubac could give you 20. You still have Westbrook. He you know, but you don't tell, you know, this ain't, Westbrook's getting old, you know. You take what you can get with Westbrook. If he gives you 17 points a game, 16 points a game, then that's good. That's a good nucleus. For the 2022 going into 23 season, okay? That will be the lineup, okay? But if you strike out on Zach LaVine and you strike out on Zubac, you don't trip. You could still go after power forward Thomas Bryant.
It's just like phones.
You go after Thomas Bryant. Thomas Bryant had a leg injury, so he wants to prove himself again. He'll come back to the LA. You give him like a nice little 3-year deal, something similar to what he did when he signed with Washington, and you just let him play. The boy could shoot. He plays passionate. He could rebound. He could shoot from the outside. He could play stretch 4 if you need him to, but he plays with passion, and he got his head on straight, okay? Then you should re-sign Ricky Rubio. Okay, he's coming off his he's coming off his leg injury. You re-sign him because you'll be able to get. I think he's making like 17 million, right? You could sign him somewhere between 11 and 13 million because he's an older player now and he had a leg injury, but he's still a good piece. He's still a good locker room guy, and he's still serviceable to be a backup point guard. Okay. Now, this is the key. That 2023 free agency. These is the names that the Lakers need to go after. Okay? So look, check this out. See, because that 2022 season, 23, like I said, you'll have a starting lineup of Jared Allen, Julius Randle. You'll start Daniel House Jr. You'll have Colin Sexton as your shoot, and you'll have Westbrook. Okay, that's better than what they got right now. But like I said, you done picked up 2 first-round picks, probably a first and a second from Cleveland. You done picked up 2 from New York and a first-round pick from Cleveland and a second. That gets back some of those draft picks that we lost. Okay? So now, when you start that 2020, 23, 24 season, and you're able to get the free agent after the 2022-23 season, now, like I said, if you strike out on Zach LaVine, right? So if Zach LaVine comes, then you got Zach LaVine, Westbrook, Daniel House, Julius Randle, Jared Allen. That's a strong team. Strong team, very strong team, right? But if you strike out on Zach LaVine, then you got Westbrook, Colin Sexton, Daniel House still, Julius Randle, and Jared Allen. But when those new free agents after that season comes, right? Because you should be able to get, if you don't get Zach LaVine after this season. So that following season, this is who they need to be going after. Okay? They should look to add D'Angelo Russell. He'll be a free agent in the 2023. Seth Curry, Bojan Bogdanovic, Dylan Brooks. You got Andrew Wiggins, Diego Garnari, Bogdan Bogdanovic out of he's the one that plays in Atlanta. I'm butchering these European last names. Bojan Bogdanovic, he plays in Utah. Okay, so with that said, Westbrook will have a player option in the 2023 season. He's gonna sign that. I think he's making like 44, 45 million. He's at the end of his time. He ain't gonna be one of these players that play 16, 17 years. He's gonna be done. So he's already 33, 34 years old. He'll sign that contract. That'll be his last payday. But the Lakers will have options for the future with cap space once they get off of Westbrook, right? So it'll be after that season. You already done clear cap space from LeBron and Anthony Davis. Excuse me, I'm sorry, people. So, but you have cornerstone players, okay? So let me give you a rundown again of what the Lakers' future after the 22 season, okay? This is pretty much next 22-23. Okay, this is going into next year. Jared Allen, Julius Randle, Daniel House, Zach LaVine, Westbrook. That's your starter. That team could win any team in the West. They could compete. I'm not saying that they'll win a championship, but you just want the Lakers to compete. They also will have Taj Gibson, Kendrick Nunn, Austin Reeves. You keep him. Thomas Bryant, Ricky Rubio. You go pick up Josh Jackson out of Detroit, small forward, and you pick up Kevin Looney out of Golden State. Okay? If the Lakers strike out and they have to wait to the 2023 season, okay, so after the next year, and these players become free agents, this could be their lineup for the next 5 to 6 years. Jared Allen, Julius Randle, Bojan Bogdanovic, Danilo Gallinari. I will probably say Danilo Gallinari, you put him at the small. Reason why, because Bogdanovic is going to demand about $20 million. Gallinari is going to be somewhere around that $15 million. He's getting older, but he can still shoot, because you need to have a couple shooters on the court that could create their own shot. Okay, your shooting guard, you got Bojan Bogdanovic, Seth Curry, Dylan Brooks, D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell will come back to LA. Okay, he wants to be in big markets. He'll come back to LA. If not, Dylan Brooks, they got a boy named Bane over there in Memphis, a lot cheaper, play the same position. Who you think Memphis going with? Because they get the same type of production. You could get Dylan Brooks from cheap. You could get Seth Curry. You could get Seth Curry for about 16, 17 million. Okay? So you want these contracts to be good, but you want the players that you're going to add to be able to contribute, but they going to know what their roles is. Okay? If it was me, I go Danilo Gallinari as my small forward to play alongside Randle and Allen. I don't have to worry about Danilo getting rebounds, because Randle and Allen, they're going to clean up the rebounding. I just need Danilo Gallinari to hit a couple threes, which he can do. Hit a couple off the dribble. And just play okay defense. But it's a tall lineup with just those three. If I had to pick a shooting guard, I like Seth Curry. I like Dylan Brooks, but I'd rather take, you know what? I don't want to say I'd rather take D'Angelo Russell, but I feel like he could come back and he could still give you 18 points a game, but Dylan Brooks could give you 18 points a game. Seth Curry could give you 18 points a game. It's pretty much who is trying to, Bogdanovic, he probably will have his contract will be less than all three of them. He's a good shooter. The Lakers tried to get him a couple years last season, I think, but they put salt in Milwaukee's game. He'll probably be the one but any four of those players, any four of those players at shooting guard, perfect. Perfect fit. Your bench, you don't, let me see. You don't have Taj Gibson. His contract is expired. Okay? You have Westbrook. Westbrook gonna come off the bench now. He's coming off the bench. He might not want to come off the bench, but if you want to get traded, fine. Cool. It's whatever. Get traded. We'll take your money off. You know what I'm saying? We good. But you got Daniel House Jr., Kendrick Nunn in his last year, Austin Reeves, Thomas Bryant, Josh Jackson, Kevin Looney. You got Austin Reeves, he's your shooter. Kendrick Nunn can run a little point. He can run a little shooting guard. Daniel House can run shooting guard. He could be a small forward. Thomas Bryant could play center, power forward. Josh Jackson, he could play a little shooting guard, small forward. Kevin Looney could play power forward, center. Everything's covered. That's the future. That's what I would do if I was the GM. Now, I know a lot of people on these Facebook groups, they gonna clown, they gonna hate, but hey, if you could do better, post it. Post it. Don't hate, post it. That's all you gotta do. Post it. But until then, this has been a Behind the Bench Network. Like I said, you can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook. Shout out to my boys, JB, Jermaine, Kelvin, the Behind the Bench crew. I'm your boy, Rashad. I'm out.